has enabled us to achieve and remember our way. Understand this, the United States of America became a rich nation so quick and so fast because they did not pay the slaves who did the work. If you can become so powerful by withholding pay, then what happens on the reverse side in which the workers get no pay? I submit to you that you are presently living that reverse side. There are intentional reasons why the slave experience and the actual process is swept under the rug. If we were actually taught in detail what was done to make us dependent and ignorant slaves, then we would be talking revolution every day. The white power structure knows that, but we as former slaves to this system lack the vision to understand that a people who oppressed you for so long will not turn around and teach you correctly. As a matter of fact, black people are probably the only people who send their children to the past and present oppressors to teach them. Until the present carrier of the torch has a viable plan or agenda, it may not be necessary to pass on the torch at all. A torch with no illumination, no enlightenment, or no inspiration can be passed on and led astray. You heard the statement before, you do not know where you're going, any road will get you there. That can create a confusing situation in this day and age. What is needed is an image of a nation. Let's move on to state a few things that can make one want to take the torch. I think it is imperative that I mention some social and political events in 1993 that could drive one to want to take the torch. Earlier this year, Lonnie Guinier was denied an opportunity to be heard by the American public. Her nomination for the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights was rescinded by President Clinton, and your branch was very active on this issue. Amen. After Clinton changed his decision to nominate Guinier, your branch submitted a few letters to the editor and a letter to Abraham Foxman, the National Director of the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, a white Jewish organization. I do not have time to read all of the statements, responses, and replies, but in some, your branch was disturbed by the ADL's posture on refusing to support Lonnie Guinier's nomination. And as far as I know, you never did receive a satisfying explanation. Briefly, here are a few statements by Lonnie Guinier that were printed in the Philadelphia Inquirer this past summer. She replies, in some localities in America, traditions of enforced racial separation still dominate. In these places, a white majority committed to racial solidarity holds virtual monopoly of political power. Under such egregious circumstances, the law affords a remedy for racial exclusion from the political process. Now, I am certain most of you have heard about the white politicians offering money to black ministers in New Jersey's gubernatorial race. These are the types of injustices Lonnie Guinier was interested in eradicating. New Jersey is no small and insignificant state, so imagine all the black, poor, and rural areas that are being swindled by white politicians. She goes on to conclude in her article, apparently I cannot be heard by those who want to believe that the problems of racial division in America have been solved, but there are many others who remain open to genuine, thoughtful debate between and among people of different races, and even more important, different perspectives. That is not the case, however, with another Jewish leader by the name of Rabbi David Saperstein. On another political front, Rabbi Saperstein of the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism wrote to several civil rights leaders in August 1993. In reference to the 30th anniversary of the March on Washington, he said, "We have been looking forward to participating this year in the anniversary march for jobs, peace, and freedom." He went on to say, in the past 24 hours, however, two major problems have arisen. The first is that I understand a tentative decision was made yesterday to invite Reverend Louis Farrakhan. I do not need to tell you what a devastating blow this would be to the solidarity of the coalition supporting the march. Essentially, Saperstein was demonstrating his white paternalism towards black leaders by publicly spanking them for not obeying a demand that was made in 1988 to disallow Farrakhan to speak during future civil rights marches. This turmoil is what caused the latest political uproar in the black community. The issue was so overwhelming that it had to be addressed and resolved a few months ago on C-SPAN. I would like to mention to you that there is an underlying history of events that should be told to explain the tenuous relationships between blacks and white Jews. Although both groups are considered minorities in American society, there is no possible way that white, Jewish, or any other minority people chosen for leadership roles in black organizations could seriously advance the status of black people in today's society. In all sincerity, if blacks really did receive equal justice and reparations from the United States government, then white Jews and other classifications of white people would probably not receive the same amount of resources. True equality and justice would make some whites feel as though they would be losing something. I believe that white leadership in black organizations is a trick. There is no Jewish, Korean, Chinese, or any other ethnic political organization that would ever justify having blacks in positions of powerful positions of leadership in the organizations. To make black people aware that we should always question white leadership in black organizations, listen to this revealing information. On the 21st of March, 1993, in a newspaper called the Memphis Commercial Register, some previously classified information about the U.S. Army's role in spying on black organizations was reported. In this article, it was stated that after the U.S. declared war on Germany in 1917, a spy system was developed to question the loyalty of black soldiers. The U.S. needed an internal security network, so the U.S. Army and the Military Intelligence Division set up a spy system to ensure black soldiers would be controlled in case they ever attempted to revolt at home. Remember now, there's no FBI or CIA at this time period. The spy system organizers, however, needed proof of subversion, so they hired Joel E. Spingarn, the white board chairman of NAACP. With no military connection or experience, Spingarn was made a major in military intelligence division of the U.S. Army in May 1918. Official documents show that Spingarn, who remained NAACP board chairman during his tenure at MIT, used his post to obtain critical information for MIT, such as a list of the organization's 32,000 members. I ask you tonight, what else does Spingarn do? Listen, I in no way mean to suggest that all white people perform acts to undermine the advancements of blacks. The point is that suspect white leadership in black organizations can be detrimental to progress. Black people cannot depend on anybody else except black people for achieving true freedom and liberation. No matter how much money is thrown on the table, you will be putting yourself in the position of selling your soul if money is the issue. Black leaders must stop stooping to the level of prostitution. The current executive director of the NAACP, Reverend Ben Chavis, is up against this challenge because of his new alliance with Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. We will need to get to work and support these leaders. I mentioned something about work earlier. Work is that phenomenon that people talk about, but they rarely engage in the process. For example, during this time of the season, you know about raking those leaves? Somehow you switch, they go away, and then you work to An effective leader must be willing to work. An effective leader must be able to delegate activities as well as carry them out. A leader such as this is more inclined to take the torch rather than wait for it to be passed. It is the responsibility of the community to mold and nurture this dependable leadership. Certainly mother and father are the primary providers for an individual family, but no nuclear family is an island. They are simply an extension of the vast ocean of possibility. Personally, I'm a product of this ocean of possibility. No matter which way the current was carrying me, there was always a wave of possibility pushing me in the right direction and keeping me afloat. Each one of those waves is representative of a family member that is part of the community. For me, I have numerous mothers and fathers, including my biological parents. These family members in their own way have defined what it means to be responsible, loving, and caring. They act in a certain way that provides as a model for me to follow. When I wanted to quit college in 1982 because I thought I could not do, they encouraged me to stay and do what I could do, persevere. When I brought home my future wife, family extended their love. When the quest for this advanced education became difficult to pursue, family was there for food, clothing, and shelter. When insurmountable medical bills came in the mail, family was there to provide a cushion. In terms of the extended family, my in-laws and their many relatives have also been there. Many have provided inspiration in their own little way. Let me take a moment to express how this has been demonstrated. The spirit of my wife's late Uncle Sidney has been with me in 1993, and he's also been a model to follow. Reverend Dr. Uncle Sidney gave a sermon this past spring, and one particular statement stuck in my mind. So many words, he said, pigs on a farm do not worry about where the food comes from. They just beg, keep their heads down, beg. Uncle Sidney said, you better look up sometime and thank the provider. That statement was on my mind during the summer. Well, after a long life of trials and tribulations, Uncle Sidney made his transition to the spiritual world October 14th. And one of the messages at the funeral service hit home. The eulogist said that Uncle Sidney was a fine student in a school in which Jesus was the dean and God was the author. To help family and friends deal with the physical loss of this dear relative, the eulogist quoted 2 Timothy, chapter 4, verse 7. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. 11 years earlier, on August 13, 1982, the program directors for the engineering program that I was ready to quit gave me this same biblical passage on a quote during an awards ceremony. I in no way had the highest grades, but in me they saw a vision of possibility. Well, obtaining this PhD despite my deficient beginning is proof that you can overcome any obstacle. For me, the ocean of possibility extended by my family and community has made my achievements possible. In terms of making a better tomorrow, it is necessary that families and communities nurture leadership for the future. The immoral, misguided, and undisciplined behavior of some youth today is a direct result of lack of structure in our personal lives and community organizations. The younger generation does not come out of the womb with a plan. It is the elders' job to mold an imagination and provide structure for a vision. I am certain the elders are fearful about passing on the torch to today's youth. However, if individual families along with community organizations were able to nurture responsible leadership, then you probably wouldn't have a problem at all with them taking that torch. I close this evening by saying, in order for a better tomorrow, you must prepare today. We do not want to be like the ancient African Sumer people who lost their history and died. We have a rich legacy and heritage of extended families. Each one will have to teach one to take the torch and lead. Through proper education of our history as a world historical people, the liberation of our minds can be achieved. As a world historical people, African people gave the world its first civilization. We did not wait in the darkness for Europeans to bring the torch. We are talking about a torch that provides inspiration, illumination, and enlightenment. And if we gave the world its first civilization, then we can provide the inspiration for another new nation. As black people relinquish the victim mentality, we can find illumination in the words of Dr. Mulan Karenga. He says the white man is guilty for what we are not, but we are responsible for what we ought to be. We can also use the torch to search for enlightenment in the words of Lorraine Bennett. He reminds us that an educator in a system of oppression is either a revolutionary or an oppressor. You cannot straddle the fence in that situation. And once we take that revolutionary stance, how do we find a vision for an image of a new nation? We must go to the elders for our answers. The elder African-American historian Dr. John Henry Clark states that we will have taken one giant step forward when we face this reality. Powerful people never teach powerless people how to take their power away from them. Education is one of the most sensitive arenas in the life of a people. And what similar vision can we find in the motivating words of Frantz Fanon, the brother who I said told us about that torch in the first place? He says, comrades, let us not pay tribute to Europe by creating states, institutions, societies, which draw their inspiration from her. Humanity is waiting for something from us. If we want to turn Africa into a new Europe and America into a new Europe, then let us leave the destiny of our countries to Europeans. But if we want humanity to advance a step further, if we want to bring it up to a different level, then we must invent and make new discoveries. I have attempted to state this evening that knowing, studying, and reflecting on your history and receiving support from your family and community organizations are a few ways liberation can be achieved. With the proper instruction, the next generation could envision an image of a new nation for a better tomorrow. And remember that revolution I referred to earlier? Well, it takes generations to make a revolution. The first generation submits. The second generation protests. The third generation acts. Without vision and guidance for the younger generation, liberation from our current condition is not only impossible, it's unthinkable. To guarantee a better tomorrow, we better equip the youth in this third generation with the skills to take the torch, because the time for action is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Timmy. I can now say Timmy. And some of you out there think I was bad. Scare him. We are now going to move into the part of the program where we are going to have our honorees and the honors presented to them by our Vice President, Mr. Kilrain Dean. who is also our spokesperson and director of our youth organization in the Ambler branch of the NAACP. Mr. Dean.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. And that message that Dr. Moore just gave all of us is a very profound message, and one I think all of us can appreciate. And it's an awfully difficult act for me to follow, so all I'm going to do is make presentations to the honorees. But before I do that, I have a group of individuals here from my youth council. I'd just like them to stand up. They acted as hostesses for our group, and I'd like you all to acknowledge their support and the work they did. Could you please stand up back there, Letitia? Thank you very much. To support me in this presentation, I've asked Tania. Tania, could you stand up? Tania is the president of our youth council, and with that, I'm going to start. First of all, our first honoree is Miss Anna Lewis. Miss Lewis is very active in our community. She's with the Ambler American Legion, Post 769. She's in World War II, she was involved with the women's group. She's involved with the 8 and 40 group, and she's also very devoted to her family and the NAACP. So, Ms. Lewis, could you please come up and accept this? I'm going to read this. I think I should stand up front. What do you think, Joe? Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to move up front. Yeah. Oh, my. So we're going to move around front. Then I'm going to read it.
Yes, people can see it.
Yeah. Okay, the flag says, for meritorious service to our communities from the Ambler branch of the NAACP, presents this honorarium to Ms. Anna M. Lewis, November 20th, 1993, Dorothy L. Kelly, President.
I just want to say thank you for this honor. I still don't know why, but I like it. I like it. And I would like all my family that's here with me tonight to please stay. I'm so proud of them. Amen. All my family, please stay. I'd like to thank the NAACP for this honor.
The second honoree, we just spent the last, how long was that? 30-minute presentation. And I'll just read from the card. Timothy was born in Philadelphia, raised in Penland, graduated from Wissahickon, received his Bachelor of Science from Lincoln University, and in 1992 from Howard University he received his PhD, and he is now an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology at Morehouse University in Atlanta. Dr. Moore? Our third honoree is Gregory Alexander Walker, who was born in Princeton, New Jersey, and his family moved in Bluebell from Princeton. He attended Wissahickon High School. He was very active in school activities and sports. He was class president from 1990, and right now he's a senior at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. Gregory Walker is not with us tonight, so I know his mother and father here. So we're going to ask these two nice people to come up here and accept this plaque on his behalf.
Okay, I'd just like to say that Greg definitely will be sorry that he wasn't here tonight, particularly in light of Dr. Moore's message. I think he would have loved that, and we will let him know. As a college student, he'll also be sorry that he missed a free meal, which is always something they're concerned about. But he really appreciates this honor, particularly since they knew that he would not be able to be here. He's in the middle of studying for finals now. They'll be completing this semester in another couple of weeks. So we talked to him a couple of days ago, and he's in the middle of doing, I think, a couple of 20-page papers and an honors thesis, and very active in activities at Washington University. So we appreciate this and are happy to receive it for him.
Our next honoree, we had all heard from earlier. I think she made a statement that she was surprised. That is Melody Stewart. Melody was born in Philadelphia. She's a graduate of Germantown High School, also a graduate of Temple University, where she graduated with honors, magna cum laude. I came nowhere near that, so I can appreciate that. She's a consultant to schools and community groups. She does workshops on Black history. She's a founder of the American Excellence Programs, which is dedicated to African American history. She's also a recipient of the 1988 Saul Feinstein Leadership Award. So Melody, could you please come up and accept this award?
I'd just like to give honor to God and to the ancestors for this honor. I'd like to thank my family and friends for coming. I won't ask them to stand since it's such a large table, but I thank them for their support, their love, and their encouragement. I also want to thank Dr. Moore for his very inspiring words. He said a lot of things that I would like to say, and he said them so nicely. I wouldn't have said them that nicely. So I think that's great, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Starting to feel a little like Johnny Carson up here. Starting to get a little comfortable with this. Our next honoree is Miss Cornelia B. Nelson. Miss Nelson was born in Richmond, Virginia, graduated from Virginia Randolph High School, and attended Virginia State College. She lives in Penland. She's very active in the community. She's a surrogate mother to many young people. She's also active in Bethlehem Baptist Church, and she works with several groups such as the Needleworks Guild, the Senior Citizens Fellowship, Good Shepherd, and many, many more. So, Ms. Nelson, could you please come up and accept this award from the NAACP?
Years ago, I used to watch Dr. Timothy Moore on the tennis court, which is next to my home. I saw him with his aunt, friend, and mentor, Mrs. Mara Moore. And I said, this young man is going somewhere. And thank you, Dr. Moore. We need many more young persons like you. My motto is a very simple one: if I can help somebody. And I hope that somewhere along the line, I have done this. And may God's blessings shine upon all of you here tonight. Thank you.
As the program relates, we're now going to have what I have been making. Helping.
Speaking of taking the torch, not passing it now. But I hope we all understood that. Well, we now need to take the torch and join the NAACP. The only way we can have strength is in numbers and unity. So we must join the NAACP to be able to become active and join this fight. Take this torch and run with it. Our memberships are the $10 membership, which is a regular one. That's without the crisis. $15, as Joe said, with the crisis. $25 is a contributing member, and a lifetime membership is $500, which is only $50 a year. So you can pay it that way if you like. Now, also your youth. It doesn't cost much for them. It's only $3. But if they want the crisis, they can pay $8, and everybody can take advantage. Thank you.
We're now going to have remarks by our chairman, who is a co-chairperson of this banquet, Mrs. Joya Smith.
First, I'd like to just thank each and everyone for coming out tonight and helping to make this banquet a great success. And to Dr. Timothy Moore, we want to thank you for that great message. And we hope that the young people here and ourselves will take heed in the message that he presented to us. And in your endeavors of what you're trying to do down in Atlanta, may God bless you and Godspeed with you in your endeavors. And at this time, I would like for all the members of the banquet committee to please stand. And their work and helping to make this banquet a success. It was up and down road, but we made it, and everyone pulled together. And as we always say, that in unity we can make change, and we've proven that tonight. In unity we make change. And thank you very much.
I'm going to pay special attention to something that we didn't do, and that was announce the name of the co-chairperson, and that is Mrs. Catherine Redfield. Please stand up, Catherine. You don't want to say anything, but we want to know that you did that. Now, moving right along, we're going to have remarks from our astute, very lovely, generous, kind, wonderful president, Mrs. Dorothy Kelly.
First, giving honors to God, and I'm glad to be here tonight and to see so many beautiful people out there, and you all look beautiful. And I want to thank you all for coming here tonight. Now I want to recognize my NAACP family. Harrisburg, this is Jessica Butler, President, and her members that came with us. Stand so we can see you. You've come a long way. Mr. Alan Mitchell, President, and your members, whoever come with you, please stand. We have Norristown, Mr. Lee Holmes, Vice President. As all you know, they lost their president last year. And who came with you, Mr. Holmes? Please stand. We have the Philadelphia branch, Mr. Thornhill Crosby. And whoever came with you, we're glad to have you. I hope I didn't miss anyone. If I did, would you please stand? I know that there's another banquet tonight. Unfortunately, we main line. And we're so very happy to have all of you here in the branches. And to our guest speaker, Mr. Timothy Moore, Dr. Timothy Moore, we are so happy to have you. I have heard a lot about Dr. Moore, but meeting him, he is a fine gentleman. I want to say he is fine. And he really brought us a message. And I hope that all of us will take that message, especially our young people. And I can't say enough about my young people in my branch. I have Dania. She has gone to 2 conventions with me, and she has been a beautiful young lady. And I want to know, I really appreciate that. She has carried herself beautiful, and I want to thank you for that. And to Mr. Kareem Dean, you all know how much I think of him. I met him on the street one day, and I said, Kareem, will you come and take over my duty? And he did exactly that. And he's been a beautiful, beautiful person. He has stood by me all the way. If I had more like him, I'd be so much happier. Kareem. And now I want to thank all my Banquet people. Joanne, she doesn't like for me to call her Joanne. I know that, but I'm so used to her. But anyhow, Joanne, I am so happy because you have done a beautiful job. And I want you to know that I thank you, I appreciate it, and I love you. To Joe, Mr. Moore really sold some tickets here tonight. I have to give him credit. I want you all to know Mr. Moore went out here working, and he really did sell some tickets. And I want you to know I thank you very much. To Catherine, Coach Herman, I thank you so very much. But I thank all of my members. I thank all of you. And I would like for Ambler Branch to please stand. Would you please stand, Ambler, all members? Because you've got a lot of members in here who belong to Ambler Branch. I know Mrs. Moore didn't stand, but she is our member. And by the way, she is the grandmother of Dr. Timothy Moore. And she's a wonderful lady. Stand. Stand so that you can see you. Someone probably doesn't know that you are the grandmother. Now, I'm going to close by saying I thank all of y'all for coming. Each and every one. I'm so happy to have all our dignitaries and everybody here. And to all of my honorees, I want you to know that I'm very proud of you. And as one of the honorees, I have to say this because I didn't know Melody. But Melody's mother and I have been friends for years through the Eastern Star. Didn't know that that was her mother. And just recently found out. But so I'm so glad to have all of you, and Jenny, I'm so glad to be here. Stand up, Jenny.